Hello, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll be diving into the world of Docker, AWS ECR and GitHub Actions. We'll learn how to build and push a Docker image to AWS ECR using GitHub Actions. This process is a crucial part of modern DevOps practices, and by the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of how to implement it. Before we begin, let's discuss some of the key concepts and prerequisites. So Docker is an open source platform that allows us to automate the deployment, scaling, and management of applications. It uses containerization to package any application with all of its dependencies into a standardized unit for software development. Amazon Elastic Container Registry (ECR) is a fully managed Docker container registry provided by AWS. It makes it easy for developers to store, manage, and develop or deploy Docker container images. GitHub Actions is nothing but a CICD tool that allows you to automate, customize, and execute your software development workflows right into your GitHub repository. You can write individual tasks, called actions, and combine them to create a custom workflow. For this tutorial, you should have a AWS account, knowledge of GitHub and Git commands, and a basic understanding of GitHub Actions and a familiarity with CICD and YAML files. Now let's get started with the process. I'm going to show you a diagram for this. So this diagram explains about the tutorial which we are going to follow. So we are going to create a repository in GitHub, and then we'll pull the repository local environment, which is my MacBook, and then we're going to set the configurations, and we're going to set up everything related for Node.js application. I'm going to show you the instructions in the next screen, and then we're going to configure the GitHub secrets, and then we also add GitHub actions, and then these GitHub secrets we needed for authenticate to AWS ECR repository, and we have these GitHub actions to have the CI/CD process set. And then whenever we try to push a commit code, this repository will try to uh, create an action which will use GitHub secrets in which we mention on the repository, and then using GitHub actions it will try to build and push an image to AWS ECR repository. So that's how it is. So let me show you how it works. So this is the instructions which I created for you so that you can understand. So this deals with we'll be starting creating a Python virtual environment in our local. So by creating this, we'll be having a isolated environment without affecting anything on our system. So that's how we do it. And then we're going to create a new Node.js application by running this command. And then we install the Express, which is a minimal basic application web application framework. And then we are going to add an index.js file, and then we are going to create a Docker file which will basically build an image and then start it. These are the things which we maintain, and then we also created I created a bash script which is designed to automatically increment semantic version tags in GitHub repository. Semantic versioning follows the release, hotfix, and patch workflow. I think it's kind of a format. So this script fetches the highest existing tag number and splits it into release, hotfix, patch components depending on the version type specified by the user, either release, hotfix, or OS. Or the patch. It increments the appropriate version component. Before creating a new tag, the script checks if the current commit already has a tag. If it does, it displays an error message. If it doesn't, it creates a new tag, pushes it, and then commits to the local remote repository and displays a success message. So this script is particularly useful in a continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline for automatic version number incrementation based on the type of code changes. And this is how we follow it, and then we add everything, and then we're going to create a GitHub workflow. We created folders and in the YAML file. So this YAML file is a configuration for GitHub action workflow, which I explained before. This workflow is triggered when changes are pushed to the main branch of the repository. So it performs the following tasks: checks out the repository code into virtual machine running in the latest version of Ubuntu, checks AWS credentials using the access key and secret key stored in that local repository, in the repository secrets, and logging into the AWS ECR runs a shell script to automatically increment the version tag for the Docker image, and builds a Docker image of the Node.js application, tags it to the version tag, and pushes it to the specified ECR repository. So the workflow automates the process of building, tagging, and pushing a Docker image to AWS ECR, making it easy to manage and deploy the Node.js application. So also we need to create a IAM user which needs Amazon EC2 container registry full access policy. This is needed for providing full access to ECR operations and resources. This policy allows the user to create, manage, and delete ECR repositories and push and pull images. So for this, these are the entry instructions. I'm going to show you about this, and also we need to uh, create a GitHub repository, and after creating the GitHub repository we are going to add AWS access. So whatever once we create the user, here we'll be creating the access key as well. Access key and secret key, we'll get that by after creating the user. So we're going to use that access key and secret key and add it to GitHub repository secrets. So that's how the GitHub repository will be authenticated with ECR. So this is the basic structure of files we're going to do it. And the other thing I forgot to explain was we need to also create a repository in ECR, AWS ECR. So let's go there. So let's create a repository first. So let's get started. So let's create a Node.js application. You can leave everything as default and create a repository. So we have a Node.js application, and also we need to create a new repository, GitHub repository. We'll give the same name. Node.js application. And then so let's clone this to our local. I have created a GitHub Actions folder. So let me go there and clone the repository we just created. So we have created a basic folder structure has been created, and so let's go ahead with our instructions. So we're going to create, let's call this, so let's call this one, okay. And then we are creating a virtual environment to do all our steps. So let's wait for that to complete, and then copy this. So it's going to create a virtual environment so that you can you can troubleshoot or do anything as per your needs without affecting your system changes basically. Okay, it has been created, then activated. Okay, I think. Okay, we have activated the virtual environment. So let's get started with creating our initial Node.js application. We can do this by running this command. Let's run this. So this is going to create a new file in Node.js application. I'm going to show you real quick. So this has been created a new file called package.json. This is needed for application, and then go back and install the minimal web application framework. So let's run this. So it started installing the Express. It's done. It didn't find any issues. So now then the next part would be create a index.js. So this is basically a sample application, nothing much. So let's go back and add this, just a hello world example so that you can understand. Okay, and then next go ahead and create a new Docker file. So this Docker file is needed to build the application. If I'm using Node.js 16 version, and this is gonna do set the directory and then copy the package.json file or log.json file to the working directory and run the actual dependencies, and then copy the actual code to the working directory, and then expose 300 available for outside the container, and then starts the application and run the application actually. Okay, so let's save this. Okay, so we are done with this, and we need to use a version script, right? So as I explained, this is needed for incrementing of tags. So let's copy this. So this is what we need, and then we can save this, and then we need to provide the permissions. I already had enabled it in the workflow, but it's good. It's a best practice to provide the permissions every time you want it, and then we are going to add initial command. Before doing that, we'll create a directory here. We need this directory for our workflow. Yeah, we're going to create. So we created a file, and then we go back to that. So see, the GitHub has been created. So let's go to that file and then create a Docker publish.yaml file. So this particular YAML file is responsible for our workflow. So just copy this till here. Yeah. So then copy this. So I'm going to share this instruction in my code, so you don't need to worry about it. So let's go ahead and do the first commit. So right now, if you do git status, you can see all of them has been on track. So let's do git add everything, and then do git status. Okay. We are not in the main repository, so let's go back to, so now let's git add, and then it's going to add everything which needed, which we just committed. And then let's go back. So the next part would be creating IAM user. I already created a ECR repo which we're going to use. It's taking time, so let's go ahead with somehow it's taking time. So let's go ahead with creating the IAS user with this policy. Let's go back to AWS in the meanwhile. So we already created AWS Node.js application. So let's go to IAM. Go to IAM and create a new user which we're going to authenticate through GitHub. So let's go to user, then create a user. We can say GitHub, and then next we're gonna attach that policy. Remember, so this is the policy we need to attach. Let's copy it, save it here. Yep, we're gonna add this. So then we create a user. So we created a user. Just go in there and then go to security credentials and create an access key. We choose other for programmatic access, and then next, and then just create access. See, we are able to create the access key. So we already added. So there is one more thing I need to add. If I forgot, I think there is one file. The GitHub repo has to be updated properly. So this is we are using application, Node.js application repo, right? Let me check real quick. Yep, Node.js application. Yep. So we need to mention this repository so that it will pick it from here. So I think that's part we missed. Let's do git status. Okay, we just need to add git add. Okay, so we need to explicitly add this GitHub, because GitHub because it's a hidden folder actually. So now you're able to see everything has been added. So let's do a first commit, adding initial changes. Okay, initial changes, let's do this, and then git push. So now you can see all of them will be pushed to the GitHub repository. Yep. So if you go back to your repository, you can see all of them will be present here. So all of them has been created. So this is the application, Docker file, and we created a workflow publish, which has, we mentioned the Node.js application here, and we mentioned the secret key and access key. So now we are going to add the AWS access key and secret access key in our GitHub repository as a secret. So how can we do that? So let's go to settings and then go to secrets and variables and actions. So then new repository secret, and then you choose what we mentioned here. So let's go back. So this is the access key variable, we're going to use, and then create. So for access key we need to use this. We just copy it and then save this, and the next one would be secret key. So the secret key name would be this, which we used in our workflow. Now let's go back and create a new one. And now we can copy this. Yep, so we are done. We created everything we need. So everything set up. We can now commit and push our code to our GitHub repository. The GitHub Actions will automatically detect the push event. Start the workflow we needed or defined, and build and push our Docker image to AWS ECR. And let's do that. So let's go back to our code. We'll make any basic change. We'll do version.sh. Okay, there is one more thing I forgot to explain you. So let's go back to .github and workflows. So for any change you need to do, so you need to mention the tag here. So if you see here, there is a version.tag, right? So right now I'm using hotfix. Let's change it to release. So there are 3 versions, like as I explained, we can use 3 kind of components. So let's do release, and then see git status. Okay, git add, and then git commit, git push. So now what this does was, it will automatically start a workflow here. So this was 3 minutes ago. It's got failed, but that's okay. Maybe we didn't add anything related to the part. So let's click on this. So you can monitor the build and push process in the GitHub Actions of your GitHub repository. Once the process is complete, you can go to your AWS ECR repository and see the Docker image that was pushed. So let's wait for this to be completed. So right now it's building, tagging, and pushing the image to Amazon ECR. Yep, that's it. We are able to complete successfully. So let's go back to AWS and go to our ECR repository. Then you can see a new version has been added. This is the tag which we created, and if you see this time 7:57, this on the basic time. So let's do one more thing. So since we created a release branch, we're going to do the same thing for, so let's change this to add a hotfix branch. So let's update this file to hotfix and see how it works. Yep. So let's save this and then add it, adding workflow changes and git commit. Sorry, git push. So this is gonna push new change again. So let's go back. We go to the location, see it started. So it's all automatic. And now you can see there is a new flow has been created, and it will push a new image to our repository basically. So let's wait for this to be completed. Yep, that's it. We are able to completely, if you go on back, it's completed. So if you refresh this page, you can see another version with a different version has been created. So the versions will be different for each brand. So that's how it is. Yep, and that's it. We have successfully built and pushed a Docker image to AWS ECR using GitHub Actions. This process is a crucial part of modern DevOps practices, and you have an understanding now how to implement it. So thank you for watching this tutorial. If you found this helpful, please do like, share, and subscribe to my DevOps channel. Thank you. See you on the next video. I'm going to